Hey everyone, it's James at geometricharts.com. It's April 10th, about 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got the daily chart of Bitcoin, BTC, USD on the Bitfinex exchange. So first of all, the video is not investment advice, and second of all, it's going to be a pretty short video. There's really not much to update outside of the fact that we made a big move. Price is going to need to consolidate, regather some energy, and then try to exert that energy one more time or multiple times to try to relieve a lot of the selling pressure that happened back in here. Again, I don't think in the grand scheme of things that this is the bottom event for Bitcoin. I just think what's happening is this a larger relief rally. Then it comes down to the corrective move that occurs there after the relief rally that will determine on whether it's just a corrective move to a continuation higher, or that corrective move is the continuation of the quote unquote bear market that we're currently still. I don't think necessarily the bear market's over yet. I'll wait until the corrective move. I think like some people listen to some of the videos and think like that's it, like it's just going to the moon. But in reality, you got a lot of people, like you can still see the negative frequencies across the board, even the momentum indicators. Yeah, we've made some very big moves, but I think that some people kind of have thought that like that's it, I'm trying to call the bottom in this market, and that's way too premature. I think anyone trying to call the bottom here, again, they're just looking for the viewers because they're just coming up with these crazy price figures like that. I'm saying that there's probably further upside. However, the corrective move will determine on whether this is the bottom or not. So nothing goes straight up to the sky except for trees, and trees never even make it all the way there. But as of now, I still think that Bitcoin has produced a very powerful move, and it needs to consolidate before we're probably going to have some chop. And I think there's a possibility of pumping higher because of what we've seen like in the alts coins just across the board. We've seen some pretty big moves, and Bitcoin does seem to be a laggard in that bunch. Again, we had a massive selling wall. It looks like the market is attempting to relieve that selling pressure, and then how price reacts after the corrective move, I think, determines the future of Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency market in general. So hopefully that kind of clarifies everything for everyone. It's not that the bottom is in. It's not that I'm saying this is it. It's going to the moon. I still think in the grand scheme of things, this market is going to take a very long time to come back up. Even if this is the bottom, it's going to take a very long time for this market to go back up. And again, it took the NASDAQ 15 years after the tech bubble to go. This is clearly a bubble. It's not marked by just the velocity of price. It's marked by what happens to investors psychologically. People went crazy. When people start pulling second mortgages out, and people start leveraging assets that they own just so they can jump into something, right? You know, people selling their homes, putting all their money into this, crazy things like that. That is the bubble. This is like Beanie Babies times 10. This is like any bubble in any market across the board. It doesn't matter what it is. People went insane, and they're still going insane, even while prices dropped from 20,000 all the way into the threes, and now we're hovering around 2. And again, you got people out there, not everyone, but you got people out there that are drawing charts like this, as in like by June we're going to be at like 740,000, and that's literally a number that I've seen out there, 740,000 for Bitcoin, and I think it was by like next year was the projection. So somehow from here to 740,000, we're going to do that over by next year. But so the insanity is there, and it's never going to leave this market. And you can see it in comments, you can see it in forums, that people act like this is the guaranteed money pot. Everyone's going to become a trillionaire. You just have to wait it out. And don't worry, you too will have an 8-car garage full of Lamborghinis. But the reality is that this market's going to go through a tough time, and it's the way all bubbles happen after the normalization phase, and that's what I think we're kind of in, is trying to find the normalization of this market. So again, if my prior video made it seem like I was calling the bottom and all of a sudden I'm this hardcore bull, That is definitely not the case. I think short term, there's potential for upside for a relief rally. Beyond that, it's still yet to be seen. And I think only a fool would say this is the bottom and we are going to go to the moon. You have to wait to see how the market reacts to it. So, and that market has not created that reaction to it, because again, each prior time, this was the continuation of the bull market. It's going to go to the moon. 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 It's going to go to the moon, right? It sounds redundant. It sounds ridiculous, but each and every single time it's going to go to the moon. And again, it has a history of failing everyone's expectations continuously and reaming people, and you know, just absolutely destroying accounts. So if anything, I would just advise caution. Yes, there's potential for more upside. Yes, some of these alts have made some very powerful moves, but I cannot stress caution at this time. Like, you need to have a sound strategy, and you have to keep it tight, and you have to be willing to jump ship early on, because if the market does dump out like it has in the past, it's going to be vicious. I mean, it's only become more and more vicious during these drops. Like during this little like consolidation period, it's fine. But when you look at all the moon boys that were here, you know, moon boys and girls up here, they got wrecked. Moon boys and girls up here, they got wrecked even harder. Moon boys and girls up here, even harder. And then the moon boys and girls up here, even harder. And then not only that, but they got the ice, they got like the ice, or they got the cake, and they got all the icing, and they got to eat it too. And it was a mud pie, you know. I can't imagine any of the people who bought in here rode it all the way down to here, and I've rode it all the way up to here. So again, hopefully that makes sense to everyone, so I can clarify this, that you definitely need to exercise caution, and how the market reacts to this pump will determine a lot in the near future. I'm not going to try to call the bottom, but I do think there's potential for a bigger relief rally just due to the immense selling pressure we experienced here, and to the gigantic rallies that we've had in the altcoins. So there's still, I believe, room for upside if price is able to stabilize and hold this area. And I think in the short term, we're probably looking at some chop. But other than that, I hope no one takes any of these videos as me calling this the bottom in this market, because that's just not the truth, and it definitely needs to prove itself. So anyways, hopefully that kind of clarifies some things. I know sometimes I do these videos pretty quick and just kind of like, you know, try to skim through some things to keep them fairly quick and interesting. But anyways, that's it. I think, again, if we can hold up strong and Bitcoin can consolidate and Bitcoin doesn't get absolutely just wrecked here, there is a possibility we could see Bitcoin probably in the 6,000 range. If not, and it just gets heavily dumped into at this range like it has in the past, then obviously we know it's just a pump and dump scheme, and that's just the way it's been. It's an unregulated market. It's the wild, wild west of making money, and it reminds me of like the Forex markets early on, and it was just wild and crazy, and that's kind of like how this is. But this is everything that you could imagine as wild and crazy, time like on steroids, like times 100, times 1,000. This is the most wild and craziest thing I've ever seen. Again, zero regulation. It seems like there's never going to be any regulation to it. So big money is definitely whipping price around, manufacturing whatever the heck they want every single day. Again, going from exchange to exchange, you can make a ton of money real fast too. So I mean, it's definitely just a wide open land. It's like the gold rush, and the criminals have just been like, here's your green flag, go on and do it. And by the criminals, I definitely think the banking cartel is probably one of our great friends in this market, whipping price around like crazy. Whether, you know, it doesn't mean just domestic as in the U.S. This is definitely a global event. The same way it happens in commodities, and you can just research in commodities and see that the cartel is there, and they openly make their trades known, and it's, you know, they take their lickings from, or their whippings, I guess I should say, their small little fines and so forth. But, you know, it is what it is. So anyways, the point is that if we can hold this area, great. We're still kind of, again, reacting to those negative lines as I open up the momentum indicators. Nothing's really changed from there, but there is the potential to change it. However, that potential will be defined by the corrective move that comes after the profit taking event. And that's all a corrective move is. If the profit taking event leads to a complete retracement, then obviously we know it's hollow and it's just a pump and dump, and probably we're going to continue the pump and dump scheme, and each one will look convincing until we probably drop off a cliff yet one more time and dive even deeper downward. So the possibility is still there, and it's definitely prevalent. And I think it's just crazy that people are trying to say this is the bottom and it's going higher. It has the potential to be the bottom, but the corrective profit taking event move that will happen in the future will be the determining factor, or one of the determining factors. It shouldn't say it all relies on that, but it will be one of the main determining factors of whether this market is going to continue higher or not continue higher. So anyways, hopefully all that makes sense. If you do like the video, you like the content, please like, comment, subscribe, follow. I will produce another video on Friday, but in the short term, I imagine there's just going to be more chop until Bitcoin can muster up the energy it needs to try to attempt to relieve more of the selling wall that we produced late last year.